I'm going to use Elastic Audio now in a different way, which is using Elastic Audio to kind of manipulate the tempo with transients, and using a lot of tempo information to manipulate the speed of the audio. Let's get into it. So what I have here is a piece of music, and you can use any piece of music that has a regular click. And with this particular piece of music, I had to figure out the click track. It could be your own music that is created to a click track. It could be any loop that you wanted to kind of just play around with. So how I detected this, I found the first part of this intro here. I'll unmute it. There wasn't really much of a beat. It's kind of just an intro. Then right around here, I heard a beat. And right there, it was a downbeat. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, right? So there was definitely a beat there. So that was my downbeat. And how did I detect that? I kind of just zoomed in and found out right where that transient started. And I could do it again. So there's the kick transient. Tab the transient really helps here. So for example, I could just tab over to this point right here. 2, 3, 4. So right at that point, I could identify the downbeat, right? And so that's what I did. I basically marked in at a certain point, and then I did do a little extra step here with identify beat. But if you have a piece of music and you know the tempo to it, then you could kind of get started to manipulate the tempo. So let's talk about the track property here, which is ticks and samples. So we've talked about them before a little bit, but when a track is in ticks, it's usually MIDI information, right? So it's MIDI sequencer data. And if it's in ticks, if you change the tempo, it'll kind of expand and contract based upon the tempo, right? But traditionally, audio information like this track here is sample-based by default. So that will not respond to tempo changes. So if we put this now into ticks mode, it will respond to tempo changes. So what does that mean? Let's just try that, a real basic representation of that. So now I put it in ticks mode. You can see it's different. You can see the little green metronome there. And if I change the tempo here, let's just say, I don't know, I'm going to change the tempo a few bars in. I've already identified the beat here. I selected one bar here. I selected one bar. 2, 3, 4. Right? So I made a loop. And I identified the beat there. And if you don't know what an identify beat command is, it's event, identify beat. So I'm going off a little tangent here. So I would start on the first beat, and this is measure 44. It was some irrational measure. It was around 44, but I chose the downbeat. This is bar, beat. Let me just zoom in on this. This is bar, beat, division of the beat, which is in ticks. There's 960. And then the end of it was the bar 45, beat 1, no divisions of the beat. So this is basically in the downbeat of the bar 44, start point, and the end point, bar 45, first beat, no divisions of the beat. So it was one full bar of 4/4, right? And when I did that, I got 72.999. So I rounded up to 73, and I programmed that 73 in there. And then when I played back my click, and the real test of it is that my click will play for the entire duration, right? And so most electronic music is going to be produced with a click like that, right? So that's how you would find the tempo. You would just select one measure of it, identify beat, or you could do more measures. You could do like 4 measures, but then your identification would change. Anyhow, I'm going to change the tempo now. We get a phrasing point here. So right here, let's say I want to just go to a faster tempo there, okay? Since I'm in ticks now, and if I change this tempo, my audio will stretch. So I'm just going to, I don't know, I'm going to go to a different tempo here. I'm going to go twice as fast, right? I'm gonna go twice as fast. That's gonna be 146. 146. There we go. So the click got faster. I was expecting that to kind of conform to the tempo here, but it looks like it didn't. Oh, I know why, because I didn't turn elastic audio on. That's right. So let's back up here. Let's turn on elastic audio. Polyphonic, because it's a full band here. And let's just try that again. Now it's analyzing. And I'm going to identify the tempo right there. You can click on the little tempo here. Or I believe if you just do, well, that works too. Let's do that. And I'm going to change the tempo here. What did I say? 146. Boom, there we go. I had to turn elastic audio on. Otherwise, it wouldn't respond. So now let's listen to that. So now I'm at 173, the native tempo. And as I change the tempo, I go to double time here, and it goes twice as fast. So let's bring the tempo back here. Let's bring it back to something normal. I'm going to click plus again. I'm going to go back to, what was it, 73? Right there. And look at, boom, it just adjusts. Back down. Right? So I want you to experiment with just tempo manipulations. I'm going to set a marker here. I just did a double time. I took the tempo information and I doubled it, right? And let's find another marking point. And I'm going to speed up one measure. And so right here, let's say every measure, I'm going to speed up in increments of 5 beats per minute. So let's even go 10. Let's go 83. Boom. Okay, cool. Let's listen to that. And this gets a little bit weird because the phrasing of this particular track, it's in like a 6/4 meter. It's a little bit weird. So, you know, I might have to. So I might have to change it, but I'm just going to try to do my best here. The phrasing might be off a little bit, but I'm just going to do it one bar grid here. It's marking here. Then I'm going to make another tempo here. I'm going to go to 93. I'm going in increment up in increments of 10 beats per minute. Go to the next measure. I'm going to click on the tempo here, and let's make this 103. You get my drift here. So now I'm getting faster every measure. It's going to be a little bit funky because the phrasing's a little bit different, but that's okay. No big deal. So 113, and I'll do one more increment here. And I'll go up to 123. So now I'm kind of speeding up the tempo here a little bit. So this is all happening, by the way, because I'm in elastic audio and ticks. And right here, I'm gonna come back down to the tempo of the native tempo, which is 73. There we go. Okay. Then I would follow the same process and slow down by, you know, a few tempo points. So this is just an experiment of manipulating the timing of a piece of music with elastic audio turned on, the track in ticks, and manipulating the tempo. And then the content, the audio information will respond to tempo changes. This is kind of cool because if you have like a whole multi-track thing and all the tracks have elastic audio on with ticks, then you can change the tempo of an entire production like this, right? But I want you to experiment with double time, increasing the speed by twice, which is what I did right here. And I could also do halftime. Let's do a halftime right here. So I'm going to mark in. I'm doing this so fast, by the way, because my grid mode is 1 bar, right? So I'm going to go back to a few bars normal, and then I'm going to click in here. I'm going to go halftime. It's going to get really slow. So this would be 35. Let's see, 30. I'll just round up. I'll go 40. It's about half. How about that? And so now it's going to get slower. And right there, I'll come back in. And that was long enough. That's pretty slow. So I'm going to go back to 73. Boom. So one slow measure. 3, 4. Back to tempo. Right? Yeah, so I just went halftime there. So I'm doing a bunch of tempo manipulations here, and I'm going to set a marker where they are. Cool. A few other things we can do to manipulate the time. We can truncate or elongate the beat. So let's listen to this beat again. It's a kind of a strange timing. But there are quarter notes. So I'm going to put my grid in quarter note here. And I'm going to make an edit here. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a 3-bar loop. Right? So I'm going to do it in 3/4 here. So I'm actually going to change the meter. I'm going to change the meter here to 3/4 just to kind of mark that that's what my rhythm is going to be. I'm going to split this over, and I'm just going to move that over, and I'm just going to duplicate a loop here, maybe 4 times. So I changed the meter here. So now... And then I might go back to the normal tempo here. I'm going to put my meter back to 4/4. There we go. So now I've changed the meter. I've truncated one quarter note slice. This is why, identifying that beat, getting the click to line up perfectly with your song is really important. You can use any MIDI stuff that you've created or other electronic music that is created with a tempo in mind. And so now I kind of truncated the beat. So just doing some metric things here. I went back to 4/4 just as a placeholder. Went back to 4/4. And so now I'm gonna elongate this a little bit. So I'm gonna go to I'm going to make this longer now. So I could do that, but I'm just going to go with 4 beats. Or let's keep it even simple. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's kind of weird because that's the second beat. Getting a little bit weird here, but I just selected 5 beats. I'm going to split that. And I'm going to move this over. So it's best to do all these edits like in a linear fashion. You don't want to go back and try to insert stuff over here because the tempo is kind of tricky if you don't do it all kind of in a linear fashion from left to right. So now I'm going to elongate this little loop here. But I want to definitely do it on a downbeat. So I'm just going to mark it over here so it's on the downbeat on the beat 1. It might be a little bit weird. Fine, it's absolutely fine. So now I'm going to change the meter. This is 5 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. but it's not reflected here because, you know, I haven't changed the meter yet. So let's change the meter. Let's change this to 5/4. Cool, now I'm in 5/4, and now I'm going to duplicate it 3 times, or it's going to go back, you know, 4 measures of 5/4. That means 5 quarter notes or 5 beats per measure. And then I'm going to change my meter back to 4/4 on the downbeat right there. Boom. And this would be, I'm going to call this elongate. There we go. So I've just elongated this. So I want you to experiment with these tempo manipulations. They're really fun, and you can really kind of stretch something. So that'll give you enough information to kind of go double time, twice as fast. I just doubled the tempo. I doubled the tempo here. Double time. I doubled the tempo. And I went half time right here. About half time. I would set a marker there. So I went double time, half time. I speeded up right here. I ramped up every bar. I went up like 10 beats per minute, or you could do 5 beats per minute. You should also do slow down. I truncated the meter, and I elongated the meter, and that should do it. That's enough to kind of play around with the tempo, see how the tempo is linked. So we could have done this another way. We could have gone into the warp markers here, and we could have dragged these around the downbeats to our tempo. But once we, you know, turn the elastic audio on, turn it on ticks, and start to manipulate the tempo, the audio will automatically conform to what the click does, right? So it's a little simpler way to make elastic audio do all the heavy lifting. You don't even have to worry about the alignment. It just kind of moves it there for you. So this is going to be a great way to manipulate the tempo.